Over the summer, I went for run on run on run, going by blocks of houses. And in all these houses, I noticed the same single feature. This feature was that there were absolutely no children playing outside, and it made me feel a little bit old. When I was a child, I remember going outside and playing with all of my friends, throwing football, skating, playing baseball, absolutely everything under the sun. But that's just not the case today. Kids are inside enjoying video games. Now, gaming has been around for almost over a millennia. The first board game was created in ancient Mesopotamia in 456 BC by the ancient Mesopotamians, and it was called the Royal Game of Ur. Now, board games have continued all the way to even today, from chess to checkers to Risk to Dungeons and Dragons, Yahtzee, and a number of other titles, but they nowhere near compare to the sales of their counterparts, video games. Now, video games have slowly but surely become one of the largest platforms of entertainment from their start all the way to now. And this underlines how corporations have been able to tribalize gaming and gaming culture for lucrative gain. And this all starts in the 1940s to the 1970s, which are the early ages. Now, the early ages takes us to about 1940 to 1970. And from an article published by the History Channel in 2019, it states that in 1952, a British professor by the name of A.S. Douglas created a computer game called OXO for his doctoral dissertation at the University of Cambridge. So video gaming began just as a dissertation, an experiment for the University of Cambridge. It wasn't anything complicated. It was just a simple tic-tac-toe game that was played amongst two people. Nothing too highly complicated. But once they found out that they could do this and then market it to the masses of the people, they realized that they could have lucrative gain that they had never seen before. This takes us to the console age of the 1970s. Now, I'm sure everyone's heard of Pong. It's that simple game where you toss a small white pixel from the right of the screen to the left of the screen, back and forth. You either play against your friend or you play against the computer. Now, the first Pong machine was installed in Andy Capp's Tavern, which was a bar located in Sunnyvale, California. This was given to me by an article published by the Smithsonian. Now, this single machine was only in Sunnyvale, California. So if you wanted to play Pong, you had to travel there. This was until the gaming company titled Atari decided to take this single machine and make it into a home console so everyone across the country could enjoy it. And they were very successful. The same article by the Smithsonian stated that a home version of Pong was just as successful as the arcade version. Atari sold 150,000 units in 1975 alone. So this widespread success of just Pong on the Atari boomed the video game market and made the outlook look very positive. But that was until 1983, the death of the gaming era. Gaming saw a very rocky point in 1983. In 1983, the same article from the History Channel published in 2019, it states that a surplus of overhyped, low-quality games, such as the infamous E.T., an Atari game based on the movie, often considered the worst game ever created. These titles, such as E.T., were companies essentially going at a cash grab. They saw the Atari as a very lucrative system, considering everyone loved Pong, so they thought that one of the nation's best movies, E.T., would translate to video game success very well. And they were absolutely wrong. It is considered to be the downfall of the Atari system and the downfall of video gaming as a whole. It is also stated that from an online article from IGN published in 2012 that when third-party game development became legally acceptable in 1982, product manufacturers suddenly realized the gates to a veritable advertising goldmine had just blown open. So what essentially happened was the United States made gaming, or made third-party game developers able to make games for the Atari. And this was meant to boost the video game economy, but it actually did the opposite. It killed it. Now a lot of low-quality video games were coming out, and it was a detriment to the Atari, and it ultimately killed the Atari. And almost video gaming until the console age and the console wars come upon us in 1990. 1990 sees the first console war, and I'm sure that if you ask anybody in your classroom or anybody you know that owns a console what console they own, they're very passionate about it. And this is for one reason. All these consoles, from the Xbox to the PlayStation to the Nintendo, are all very expensive. So in order for somebody to drop $400 to $700 on a console, they have to be very sure of their purchase. So this is where we begin to see corporations tribalize gamers and gaming culture. An online article from The Guardian, published in 2020, states that Xbox had a reputation as the jocks console. PlayStation positioned itself as the extension of club culture. And if you were into games that were approachable and colorful, Nintendo was the choice for you. So we begin to see how these video gaming corporations geared their consoles towards specific sects. So if you liked shooting things, you bought an Xbox. If you liked jumping over hurdles in a bright, colorful Mario costume, you bought a Nintendo. And this still kind of exists today with the console age and the console war. But it absolutely boomed the video game economy, and everyone owns a console. This takes us up to the modern age and into the future. So everyone seems to be investing in virtual reality, yet we don't know what virtual reality entails. A post from the Washington Post in 2021 states that virtual reality has lured billions in investments, but remains more centered on potential than realized success. And that's just a fact. Everyone realizes that virtual reality could become a gold mine for the video gaming community, yet that potential has not necessarily been realized quite yet. And we're still very close, yet still very far away. So the future of video gaming is very confusing, yet it is so close to the future. What is also noticeable is that people seem to be looking at not only video gaming as a virtual reality, but an escape from actual reality. From the book I picked up from the library, Gamer Nation, which was published by John Willis, it states that CEO and founder of Second Life, Philip Rosedale, said that we don't see this as a game. We see it as a platform that is in many ways better than the real world. So video gaming now and into the future is less so becoming a kind of playful way to play with your friends, and more so an escape from reality. In conclusion, video gaming has come quite a ways. It has come from just the beginnings of a board game to play with your friends, from dissertations to arcade machines to consoles, all the way to perhaps escaping reality through a virtual portal, which is absolutely insane. It shows how corporations have been able to tribalize and use gaming culture in order to have lucrative gain. And it also shows how video games have slowly but surely become one of the largest platforms for entertainment around. But it is very important to popular culture to understand video games, and I'm sure you'll find yourself gaming very soon.